We're back with another edition of SVG's On the Gridiron series with a trio of folks from the Atlanta Falcons at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We're going to go down the list of the crew here. We have Tameka Rish. She's VP of Events and Game Experience. We have Julia Chongarlides. She is the manager of Stadium Productions. And we have Ben Dolinky. He is Chief Broadcast and AV Engineer. Guys, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you guys are super busy during this really, really weird season. So I hope you guys are staying safe and staying healthy down there in the ATL. We'll start off with safety protocols. Tell me what the typical day is like heading into the stadium, and what's the current setup in the control room. Julia, we can start with you.
Yeah, so we have some plexiglass set up and adhering to all of the state and government guidelines. So Ben has done a great job, setting us all up for success down here in the control room. He can kind of explain a little bit about that process and what it's been like.
Sure. Thanks, Julia. We've got plexiglass set up at just about every station so that it's separating all of our operators. That way we don't have two people that are less than 6 feet. They are separated by plexiglass. We also have a safety protocol that the stadium has put in place. So everybody has to adhere to kind of a pre-check of questions that they must answer. They get a text message, they go through that process, get a QR code so that they can, one, get access into the building. So that's been good and kind of expediting the process for our crew on game day. And then once people are in the room, we kind of have it mapped out with tape on the floor. So if you're going to walk a certain way, if you're going, let's say, to the back of the room, you walk a certain way. If you're going to the front of the room, you walk another way. So just trying to keep that flow of traffic in the control room kind of separated. And at the same time, we have kind of limited some crew, scaled things down a little bit as without fans and getting prepped and ready. And then we'll obviously scale back up once we do have fans in the building.
One thing to add on that is we missed is masks. This is about the first time all three of us have been without a mask in about 6 months, it feels like. So we are heavily, we are all in 3 different spaces, but masks have become part of our everyday life in this building.
It used to just be cell phone, wallet, keys. Now it's cell phone, wallet, keys, mask in this real world that we're living in. So, Tameka, we can stay with you for this next one, but you guys unfortunately didn't have any preseason games. No one did across the NFL. No kind of run through to make sure everything was going okay. So how did you guys get up to speed before the season? And now that you had a couple games under your belt, how has that process been to make sure everyone's comfortable with the run of show and everyone's staying safe?
I wish I could say that the lack of a preseason was we are constantly getting a new memo. So we're receiving a memo almost daily that is as audibling something that we were doing. So the team, Julia's team and Ben's team are continually living in our third game, and the third game won't be anything like the last 2 games. So it wouldn't have mattered if we had a preseason. We're now bringing back fans for the first time into the building. We had some players' family here on Sunday, so that was a little bit of a trial, but that was a little different than the first game. So game 2 looked nothing like game 1, and now game 3 will look nothing like game 2. And we just feel like that's probably the year 2020 is going to be, a year of learning and growing. But in times of instability, we grow and we try things and we do things, and it creates innovation. So I'm really proud of the 2 people that are representing us on this call and the innovative ideas that we've developed to still create an incredible experience. I think one of the biggest concerns from our leadership team bringing fans into the building was not the safety protocols. We felt really good about that we would be able to develop a safe experience for our fans, but that we wouldn't be able to develop an experience for our fans because we're used to bringing 70,000 people together in a building and creating a very loud and contagious environment. And I'm really proud to say that after our event on Sunday, we got really positive feedback that there was energy in the building, and that's really, really, really hard with no people. So really proud of the 2 people that are representing us here, and Julia and Ben and the team that they represent and what they did to create that in an environment that could have been very sterile. And week 1 in the NFL was a different structure and a different guidelines, and it was very quiet, and it was a very, very odd experience for all of us. I'd never been in. It felt like we were watching a practice, but it was an actual season kick. Typically your first game of the season is raucous, right? Like everybody's been waiting on football since January, February timing. And that definitely wasn't the experience of our first game. So I think 2020 is just the year of change, and we are continuing to live that through every protocol. So preseason was somewhat of an impact, but we're still feeling it from game to game.
Right, Julia, you're in charge of kind of Stadium Productions, or one of them, kind of making sure that the event is looking or feeling as real as possible. And if you look behind Tameka, there's no one there, and it kind of looks the same way on a Sunday or a Monday or a Thursday. One of the big things that Tameka mentioned was the crowd noise. And I know in the first couple of weeks you were capped at a certain level, and based on the conversations I've had with other teams, you're kind of not at that cap anymore. How have you adjusted to the new being kind of unleashed and making sure you can go kind of as loud as you want in terms of PA, in terms of sound with your hype videos and content on the video boards, or just overall, how are you executing the kind of the sound portfolio in any given game?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge at first, adapting to those kind of guidelines. We like to bring a lot of energy here, utilizing prompts and our PA announcer who has really good energy to feel. So that was kind of challenging. But now that we're kind of advancing to the next game, like Tameka was saying, it's not going to feel or sound or look like that previous game. We've incorporated, a lot of unique elements as well. We've had live fans on the Halo board to bring sort of that live fan entertainment aspect, utilizing TVU. Ben's done a great job for months during quarantine to acquire that asset for us. So that's brought a lot of energy to us. And then also for our player introductions, we've used the family members to introduce them.
At wide receiver from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, number 18, Calvin Wrigley. At tight end from Jacksonville, Florida, number 81, Hayden Hurst.
At wide receiver from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, number 83, Russell Gage.
Whatever we can provide for the players, which is our number one audience, right now without fans. So had, their mom or their dad kind of introducing them as they're coming out of the tunnel. So that was a really unique thing. And then also utilizing different fans or high school coaches like we recently did. We partnered with our community relations team to kind of add those defensive prompts up on the Halo board as well.
Awesome. Sounds great. Ben, based off of what Julia mentioned in that last question, you did a great job kind of acquiring the equipment that was needed to make sure that the show can go on despite everything that's going on. Does it change by a week-to-week basis in terms of your to-do lists and what you got to make sure that you got to get this done? And, what may happen in week 2 may not happen. It may not be the same problems in week 3. You may have a new set. How has your job kind of shifted in this weird year? Yeah,
that's a great question. It's constantly shifting, and as this business goes, technology is constantly changing too. And right now, one of the things that we love to do here is innovate continuously. So we're always looking for what's next and how we can improve our fans and listen to what our fans want and respond accordingly. So that's always kind of at the top of our list. So regardless if it was a COVID year or not, we're always kind of looking to push the envelope from a technology side as to what we can do and how we can enhance that game day experience for our fans. And I really think, it's kind of like a shared experience of expectations. When people come into the building, they've got an expectation of what they're going to see and feel and hear. And we kind of have an expectation for how we're going to present that to them. So this year without the fans in the building was incredibly challenging for us to be able to, like Julia said, how do we hype the team up? How do we kind of recreate that energy? So using kind of all the things that were out there, as Julia had mentioned, we use TVU to be able to bring in 25 to 50 fans remotely, kind of call it our mosaic look. We also have 4 fans that are 20 feet tall a piece on our mega column. We're utilizing and leveraging kind of all of our pieces of technology in the room. So it has been changing week to week, just as we talked about with the audio and what the expectations were there and what the requirements were. That changed drastically of how we could present essentially our game, and then just how we're getting people virtually, how we're still feeding our fans. Julia and her team have done a great job of providing high-end content to our season ticket members. Again, using TVU and other pieces of equipment to bring the fans, to make them feel like they're still a part of the game day experience. And it's challenging, but at the same time, it's also very rewarding to see the excitement on the fans' faces when they're able to know that they were in the stadium on a video board or receiving that content, that exclusive stuff that we're being able to provide for them.
The 3 of you have done admirable work for the team this year, and just being in that facility without anyone there. I'm sure it's difficult, but there's other people on your team that have done great job and great work as well. We can go down the line. Tameka, is there anyone in your department that you want to give a shout out to or kind of display the great work that they're doing?
Yeah, well, first of all, these two that are here, I think it doesn't get better in the business on, caring and passionate about their people and the experience. So I can't sing their praises loud enough. Kelsey Gillespie leads our live events team. That team traditionally they know what their day looks like. Now they're just the all hands on deck team. They're literally getting soccer balls on the sideline. For United, for Falcons, they're doing our player introductions because we're limited on who can be on the field. We've got a lot of people wearing a lot of hats. Our major events team, Tron Stamper and Charina, on that side are responsible for executing what we call the IDER plan. The IDER plan is our infectious disease emergency response, and that gets updated on a daily basis. There's so many memos that are involved in the IDER plan that they have to make sure that we are executing against, and the time it takes just to read those, much less hold us accountable to that, is incredible. And that team, Tron, Jessica, Tarina, all are doing a great job in that. And I think it's just the only word that is consistent in 2020 is change. And I'm really proud of the team in the way. And that I oversee 4 different groups, and the one that has been impacted in the most unique way is probably our private events team. And that we haven't had a lot of private events, and we actually had a memorial service as our first event here last week. We lost an associate. And so, to be able to have the first event back in our building be one that was so meaningful to the organization and the family was really incredible. So everyone's just been all hands on deck, and I'm really proud of that mentality. We're working a lot of hours right now. There's a lot of people, Julia's hired a handful of brand new people. They've come in and we're just, they're probably like, what did I walk into? This COVID, we're doing a lot of social justice work. We're really proud of that efforts. And just really proud of all of the folks that have just pitched in to get us where we are. And can't wait till we're on the other side of this and we're back to a stadium with 72,000 people in it.
Terrific. Julia, is there anyone that you'd like to mention from your side?
Yeah, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Kev Nav, who's our graphic designer. He's carried a lot of the brunt of the work, getting all of our starting lineups designed, basically all of our motion design work. He's worked 100-hour weeks, to get this ready. So it's big kudos to him. Our control room team, like Tameka was mentioning, we got Grant, Garrett, and Carly. They're recently new, coming into a whole new Tesla dashboard world of, figuring out what triggers what. It's a lot of work. They've been working long hours to get our shows built and programmed. So big shout out to them. And then Steve Smith, Jada, and Chris Koch on our video side. They put in a lot of work, not only for Falcons and United, but all the internal Know As You Go videos and getting everybody on the same page with content-wise. So big shout out to them. And of course, my counterpart, Ben Dolinky, who I work really closely with, him and Ryan, and our DJ, Brandon, who have been literally audibles during the game of changing things to whatever happening, to adjust, listening and responding. So they've done a great job, and I'm proud to call Ben a really good partner and friend in the business here.
Ben, in that note, do you want to kind of take us home and give props to anyone?
I definitely have to give props to my team, which is Ryan Collins, our audio engineer here in the building. He's done a phenomenal job just working with Tameka and Sarah Hogan from our NFL ops team and Julia and her staff, and just making sure that everything is sounded right. Everything has again, the protocols for what's going on in game for the sound has changed drastically. He's been working tirelessly on that, just getting all of the fake crowd noise to go in and make sure it's at the right levels, and to work with the DJ and to work with all the production staff. And Jim Blackburn, he's been a great asset to me just on getting on the technology side of working with me to ensure all of our TVU equipment is working every game and everything is set. And kind of like what Julia and Tameka talked about, just getting a lot of content where it's been a lot of fun to get remote family and friends. They're out all over the country, and we're having them do prompts for their family members, starting lineup introductions and all that stuff. So Erica Arms has been a great asset to us to produce all of that content. And I think every day they've been in, it's like 100 people, 100 interviews that they've been going
back
through.
to back to back every day.
Yep. And just like
Yeah.
Julia said, you know, Julia and her team, it is really a great honor to work with them and to be able to work on one of the largest video displays, you know, in the league right now, and being able to produce high level content is always challenging. So big kudos to her and her staff and Garrett Hall and company.
I mentioned to Tameka before we jumped on the call, but I had the privilege to be there back in June of last year for Atlanta United game. You guys have an awesome facility, but it's going to be better when fans are back in there and making it raucous and you know, a wild scene down there in Atlanta. So Tameka, Ben, Julie, I really appreciate the time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Best of luck this year, and thanks for hopping on.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.